There are few classes that are as competitive and as exacting as the executive saloon class. So a new protagonist like this, the 2022 Mercedes C-Class, is big news, especially when it moves the goalpost as much as this does. That is not just some bluster to kind of big up a facelifted car. This really is big news, especially if you're a company car driver, which a lot of people who buy C-Classes are, because this is the plug-in hybrid, the C300e, and it has now got a pure electric range of 62 miles. That's near enough twice what you got in the old C-Class plug-in hybrid. CO2 of 14 grams per kilometre, so the benefit in kind tax rate's really low on it. It is just really significant in terms of the numbers that it's offering. Not only that, it's also got rapid charging of 50 kilowatts. Praise be, a plug-in hybrid with rapid charging. So basically, it's going to be a pure electric car for a lot longer than virtually any other plug-in hybrid you can buy. And then you've still got that 2-litre turbocharged petrol engine to back you up when the 25.4 kilowatt hour battery has been depleted. Now, before we go any further, you know that you're not going to get away without the old like and subscribe, so like this video, subscribe to the CarGurus UK YouTube channel and turn on your notifications so that you don't miss any of our fantastic content, because we do upload really good videos about used and new cars every week. Equipment levels are yet to be confirmed, but expect to get the basics on the entry-level AMG line, while Premium and Premium Plus trims will up the style stakes and add features like an augmented head-up display, glass roof and semi-autonomous drive mode. There are, of course, other engines to choose from. Eventually there will be some new performance AMG models, and at the other end of the range there are some excellent and very efficient 4-cylinder diesels and petrols, which could well be the more popular choice for retail buyers, since the plug-in hybrid version is likely to cost from around about £45,000. At least if you do go for the plug-in, charging should be no problem. You'll get a full charge in half an hour from any CCS compatible rapid charger, or a full charge at home will take some 3.5 hours. That is quite a lot of money then, but it has to be said it's a very similar amount to what you'll pay for the BMW 330e, which is this car's arch nemesis, and this goes quite a lot further on pure electric. Not only that, but I think Mercedes has done quite a good job of making this look very slick. I think they've managed to make it look a bit simplified, a bit smoother. It's not got too many kind of complicated lines and too much chrome and all of that stuff, which I think you could probably say of some of its rivals in the executive class. Maybe there's something a little bit odd, I think, about the rear of the car, a little bit squinty, a little bit out of proportion. That might just be me though. Overall, I think it's actually a really good looking car. However, while we're at the back here, let's talk about one of the things that the C300e, the plug-in hybrid specifically, does not do well, because there has to be a payoff for the size of the battery pack in this car, and it is in the boot. So you lose 140 litres of boot space to these batteries, which are underneath here, and that means that you only have a 315 litre boot, and as you can see, it's really quite shallow, so that is not great, I have to say. I mean, you're going to get, you know, still a couple of suitcases in there, but it's not brilliant, and for some context, that is actually a significantly smaller boot than you get in a Volkswagen Golf. Up front, Mercedes is setting some more benchmarks, this time for perceived quality. The combination of materials and sense of precision to the interior is the best out there, and it's hard to fault the comfort and tech on offer too. That includes these really lovely seats, lots of side support. You get full electric adjustment if you're going to go for one of the higher spec cars, of course, although I would add Mercedes hasn't confirmed UK specs just yet, so there's a little bit of uncertainty about all of that. Even so, really comfy seats. I love the interior, all the materials look lovely, and the focal point, of course, is this huge touchscreen. Now this is the latest system from the S-Class, so you're getting the very latest in technology, and one of the things I really like about this system is that the navigation, which is standard on every car, you get shows you your chargers, and it even shows you how many connectors are available and how quick that charger is. So it's a really useful instant kind of just a quick glance at what's available around if you want to charge the car. More than that, it's not the easiest of systems to use. You need familiarity because there's a lot going on. You've got your touchscreen, you have touch sensitive buttons on the steering wheel, which is a pet hate of mine. But I would qualify that by saying that the Mercedes system is the only touch-sensitive wheel where I haven't accidentally hit a button, and I find it actually surprisingly easy to use. So this cluster here controls this screen, and this cluster here controls this screen, and that all sounds a bit complicated, but with time you get used to it, and I have to say it's surprisingly one of the easiest systems to use. And this is the only touch-sensitive steering wheel I've encountered where I've not been accidentally hitting the buttons all the time and turning stupid things on when you don't expect it to. So that is all good. I'll even forgive it the touch-sensitive steering wheel. And there's not much else to forgive because this really is such a lovely interior. Of course, you also get nav, Android Auto, wireless Apple CarPlay, not to mention various music streaming services and over-the-air updates. As you would expect, you've got all the modes and also the sort of hidden performance that we've come to expect from your executive plug-in hybrids these days. So you've got this little button down here, you've got B mode, now that actually holds the battery charge for later in the journey. You've got electric mode, which of course puts it into pure electric mode, and I think that is when this car is nicest to drive. It's super smooth, really quiet, and with that range then actually you really can. Most people are going to be able to use this virtually as a pure electric car, which is great. The electric motor is actually integrated into the 9-speed gearbox in this car, but you very, very rarely sort of feel anything other than that normal kind of seamless, lovely electric acceleration that you get in pure EV mode. It's really lovely. Hybrid mode, of course, is shuffled between petrol and electric as you'd expect. This 2-litre petrol engine, now Mercedes has clearly decided that it wants it to be quite sporty. It's got 201 brake, this turbocharged 4-cylinder 2-litre petrol engine. So you can see why they might want to make it feel sporty. But the thing is, you stick it in sport mode, even when it's just in standard hybrid mode, if you accelerate, the noise that it makes, and it's augmented, you can hear it coming through the speakers in the cabin, and it really moves away. And that's kind of all well and good, but I don't think it's a terribly nice sound. It's quite coarse sounding. You get, I don't know if you're picking that up, but it's even when, you know, moderate acceleration, just kind of accelerating out of a corner, and especially if the engine just kicks in at that point, it's quite noticeable. Other than that, the way that the petrol and electric powertrains integrate, really nice, quite smooth. You do get a bit of vibration through the throttle, I'd say, actually, when the petrol engine kicks in, which you might not expect, which is why I think it's actually more pleasant to drive when it's in electric mode. And while I'm complaining about a few little things, I'm going to mention that the brake feel, it's not bad, but it can be quite hard to get used to because the initial bite can be quite strong, so it's quite easy to brake a bit more than you expect to. Talking about braking, the brake regen in this car, you've got an automatic mode, which is really good actually. Nice and smooth. The car senses when there's a junction or another car ahead, and it will automatically brake when you lift off the throttle, and that's going to save you energy by charging up that battery a little bit. It sounds a bit complicated. In reality, it's the kind of tech that you get used to quite quickly, and you start to rely on it, and before you know it, it's the kind of thing that you're very grateful for and you don't really want to live without. So I quite like it. You can also toggle through the various brake regen modes with your paddles. Another thing that I really like, because I like having control of the brake regen like that. And you can up the brake regen until you get to a 1-pedal drive mode around town should you wish, or you can toggle back through and have a sort of more moderate braking. So that is, I think, pretty much the best setup that you want from brake regen. You want the auto mode, and you want to be able to have easy control of the other settings up to a 1-pedal in town. So I think Mercedes has got all bases covered there. I just wish it was a bit more fun to drive. I mean, it's got 201 brake from the petrol engine, 124 brake from the electric motor. It's rear-wheel drive, this car. There's no 4-wheel drive version, which is a bit of a shame, really. And it is nice. It's quite easy to drive fluidly. It's got a nice kind of, it gels well, and I like that about it. But it does feel quite heavy, and there's quite a lot of body lean. And even in sport mode, the steering doesn't ever really give that much feedback. So despite being a car that, judging by the sound and the performance, you know, I mean, 0 to 60 in under 7 seconds, so that's not bad. But ultimately, it's not a car that actually you feel that inclined to drive quickly. It feels much more in its comfort zone, kind of at a happy mooch, really. And that's fine, I guess. Perhaps as an executive saloon, some people might expect more. There's your mooing petrol engine again. Probably of more importance to most people buying a plug-in hybrid C-Class is the efficiency. And there's nothing to argue about there. Even in fairly varied use, we're seeing 55 to 60 miles of pure electric running, and you'll probably see well over 40 mpg from the petrol engine, even up to 50 mpg if you're on the motorway. So there's no doubting that this is not a faultless car. Let's face it, there are more practical alternatives, and there are alternatives that are more fun. A BMW 330e, well, it's definitely better to drive. But this is still really pleasant. It's a great motorway cruiser, and more than that, I think with the tech, with the interior finish, and with that efficiency in the pure electric range, well, this is definitely the plug-in hybrid executive to beat. If you are after a plug-in hybrid, but maybe you're after a used one, don't forget to head to cargurus.co.uk for loads of reviews and electric car advice, as well as a whole host of fantastic used cars from top-rated dealers. And while you're here, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to our channel.